Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my unhealthy podcast. I am your host, Uncle Marv, and this is the show where we take a little different perspective on health and wellness. Our goal is to fix everything that is unhealthy that we can, and we do it one step, one day at a time. So welcome back, everyone. As I said, if you caught part one of my conversation with Carlijn Krigjer, you heard a story that started with, it was so-called perfect health. She was doing clean eating, running half marathons, got top grades, and then somehow ended up losing her period for a year and then having some issues there and a medical system that just couldn't give her a clear answer. So she started to give us that answer at the end of part one, but in today's episode, we're going to pick that story up and get a little further into it. So, Carlijn, welcome back.
Yes, I cannot wait.
So let me ask, just to kind of set the stage, we've actually had a few days since we recorded that, and have you had any thoughts about what you told us? Anything that you might want to add to help explain what was going on in your life before Spain?
Um, I think we had a very thorough conversation about it,
Yeah.
and I would say like there's many things that we touched on, many specific things that I experienced myself, and although there are many people that are experiencing that, um, listeners have to know that that is not me anymore.
Okay.
I completely turned things around, and we will talk about that in this episode. But yeah, people really have to understand that these kind of situations, they look like you cannot get out of it. They look like there's no way out, and everyone tells you it's complicated, and everyone tells you it's chronic, or everyone tells you that is just what it is, and it's really not. So yeah, I'm excited for this episode to actually give people a way out, because I kind of felt like finishing the first one of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything was dark and unfixable and dramatic, and it's really not like that. So
Right,
yeah.
right. Well, the good news is you found a solution. It got turned around. I did have one question because I don't think I asked it in a way that allowed you to explain. What was it that made you choose Spain? Was it just that you just needed to get away and Spain was a logical choice? Was there something that guided you to Spain, or could you have found that answer going to other places?
Well, it was an idea I had. And then, funny enough, I met someone online in a certain community for business owners. And excuse me, he had a community, like a physical community in Spain, in Torrevieja. It's like near Alicante. For the people that know Spain. And he was like, yeah, you should come over. You should come here. Like, we'd love to have you here, and you can stay with us and all these things. So I kind of like, I had the idea, and then I had a sudden invitation, which made it extremely easy for me to go to Spain. I'm from the Netherlands myself, so it's like a 2-hour flight. It's nothing. And yeah, so that's how it happened.
Okay, nice. Um, What would be something that you would tell somebody who may not think to go to another country? They may not have the resources to go to that. I know that you talked about how you knew your body. How would you describe your process to somebody who maybe can't go in terms of how they should listen to their body and how they should seek out, how to fix it?
Yeah, so this is a very, very common trap that almost every human falls into, and especially with social media, is that they see someone else with similar symptoms, or they see someone else talk about something that resonates, and then that person talks about what they did, and then they're like, ah, A equals A equals A equals A. So that means anything equals anything equals anything equals anything. So I resonate with this person. So this person did this. So that's also my solution. That's not really the case. So just that it worked for me and that I had the idea and that I did specifically that, and from there everything changed, is not what you should do specifically that. I know many people that need a very different approach, and don't underestimate the amount of things I had to do before I came to that realization or I had that idea. Like there's many things that I tried before. So I highly recommend for anyone that's watching that doesn't have the resources to go to a specific country. You don't need to go to a specific country. You need to make just one step forward, just one step and another step and another step. And really, if you just focus on that, you always know what to do. But the hard thing is to actually trust that.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
It does. It does.
This is kind of different from
Well, I mean, obviously it's different for each person. I mean, every solution can't be 100% the same. Although simple daily changes are things that we can all do, but we have to, we have to listen to our body, and we have to look at solutions that work for us and not just assume that a blanket answer, you know, is going to work, especially off of, Google or the YouTube, or now with AI. Everybody thinks that AI is going to fix everything, but AI is just a faster Google in my mind when it comes to this stuff. And it can be
Yeah,
wrong. It could be
it's
very
still a
wrong.
robot. Yeah, and if you as a spirit look for answers from robots, how, like, with all due respect, but how effect are you? You're so powerful. Why do you need a robot to tell you what to do?
Right.
And people really know this, what to do. I have every single person that I coach, that I help, they know what's the next step. One of them was actually to move to the south and to start like a new life there. And she told me before I even mentioned something about it. She knows. But another client who is a lone standing mom with 3 kids, she doesn't need to move anywhere. Like is a completely different scenario. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yes, people really know for themselves.
Okay. So let's do this. Can you give us a picture of what your daily life is like now since Spain? Because you're not still there, right?
No, I'm not in Spain. I'm in the Netherlands right now,
Right.
and I'm also often in Cape Town.
Okay.
So
But I'm assuming that you've, changed your lifestyle, while in Spain. What is a typical day for you now? We talked about, you talked about the lack of vitamin D. You talked about the circadian rhythm. What are the things
yeah,
that you're doing now to stay healthy?
yeah. So I love that question. Thanks for asking. I love taking care of my body. Like it's really something it's just my creation. It's my painting. I love it. And I don't see it, first of all, from a perspective at all that I have to do something. Not at all. And that is why I succeed, because there's no resistance. There's just pure this. I don't want to like have it sound woo woo, but it's really something I know and create, and it's not something that I'm not fighting an illness. I'm not doing any of that. So that's first of all, without before anyone hears what I do and then, oh my god, I have to do that. That's not the way that I see it. So my routine, what I do is I first of all always wake up for the sunrise. I don't care how early it is. Right now it's around 6, and I get up before the sunrise, and I watch every single sunrise every day. I do not miss a day. And we can dive into why that is, but I do that. And I make sure that during the morning I get as much sunlight as possible. So I really make sure that I'm outside and for the rest of the day as well, but specifically in the morning, like the first 2 hours from the sunrise. So that's something super important that I do. I have around 2 to 3 meals a day. It depends, but I always have breakfast, and I always have for breakfast some type of animal protein like eggs, raw yogurt, or meats, and I combine it with vegetables and fruits, and some nuts and seeds.
So
And some
not your typical breakfast for most people.
no,
Most people aren't
but
eating meat for breakfast.
I am. I highly recommend you do. It's a very, 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 very good breakfast. Just make sure that's protein and fat rich. Then I have some supplements, and I work out every day. I either go to the gym or I have calisthenics rings. So I do some like more body weight work. I do yoga, I do stretching, I do a lot of facial release and lymphatic drainage. I take hot baths, I do saunas. What else? Do like self massages, and overall, I'm a lot in the sun. That's why I'm so tanned. But yeah, I really love being a lot in the sun, and then I have some rituals like herbs that I use for cooking. I distill my water, I structure my water, I salt my water, a specific salt that I use. There's a lot, and it sometimes differs from one day to the other, but that's generally
Right.
the thing that I do. Yeah.
All right. So that caught my attention. You salt your water. Now, is this a particular type of sea salt?
Yes.
Something? Okay.
Yes. Yes. I would never, ever, ever get some type of table salt because table salt has only two minerals. Natrium, is that the correct word in English? Na?
Um,
Sodium.
Sodium. It's yeah.
Yeah, sodium. Yeah, Na, right? Is sodium.
Yep.
Yeah, so
NaSodium. Yeah.
that's my language. But anyway, it has sodium and it has chloride, sodium chloride. That's the only two minerals.
Right.
That's why people get high blood pressure from that salt
Okay.
because it only has two minerals, so the kidneys cannot balance the fluid, like the fluid regulation. So you shouldn't ever get sea salt, table salt. You should get sea salt, but a very specific sea salt because most sea salt are very, very high in plastics and in metals because there's a lot of pollution in the sea. So what I do is I get the cleanest sea salt, and that is from Iceland. So I actually have Icelandic sea salt. And sea salt has around like 71 minerals, something I think it's 71. And yeah, I use
Okay.
that a lot.
Most people are immediately going to think, well, if you only getting sea salt from Iceland, it must be expensive. Is it?
Well, it's also expensive to be sick, so
Okay.
right? So yeah, well, choose your game. But yeah, in my eyes, like anything that's expensive is of good quality.
Right.
Like I take it because it is expensive. I take it not that anything is expensive is of good quality, but
Right.
um I wouldn't want a cheap thing for my body.
Now,
No.
we're not going to find that in just a regular grocery store, I imagine, either. So is there a place that you have to actually go online and order it? Is there a place in Iceland that sells it and
No,
ships it?
the brand I use is named Saltwerk. So they have a web shop online.
Okay.
They have very clean salt. So that's my favorite brand. And any like if that's too expensive or they can ship, just get a good quality like sea salt is always better than table salt. So well, there's gradients, right? So yeah,
Okay.
you have options for sure.
So you also talked about every day getting up before the sunrise. I assume that you go outside, if it's not raining or whatever, and watch the sunrise. Does your schedule ever Uh, is it ever like a lot of ours where, sometimes you might go to bed late? Are you going to get up early the next morning just for the sunrise? Or if you're traveling or something, how hard is it to do that every day?
Not hard at all. My body automatically wakes up at that time. So sometimes I go to bed at 2 a.m. Because I have some call, and then I get up at 6 and I'm fine.
Hmm.
It's not a problem.
Okay. Now, is that also because you've modified your schedule for the circadian rhythm?
Um, how do you mean?
Because most people, when they talk about circadian rhythm, they talk about trying to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, trying
Oh,
to
no.
eat
Yeah,
every,
that's
have
a
this.
common misunderstanding of circadian health.
Okay.
That's not circadian health.
Okay. Wouldn't help. What is proper circadian health?
So circadian health is actually circadian means in a day. Okay, it comes from the Latin word circa, and it means day. So circadian health is and health means that your body's being able to adapt to the environment. Right, survival of the fittest. The more healthy you are, the more adaptable you are to the environment that you're in. So circadian health is the extent to which your body is being synced with the rhythms of the day. And the body uses light as a primary signal to do that. So when your eyes see the sunrise, that's a very specific wavelength at that part of the day that your body recognizes. It has been like that for billions of years. It's a very ancient mechanism. It's a very, very, very ingrained system. And so it recognizes the wavelength and it kind of knows like, it's morning. Let me put all of the processes in place because now I know what time it is and now I know what to do in what specific order. And actually throughout the whole day, the sun has a slightly different wavelength. The light in the atmosphere is always changing a little bit. And because of that, your body, when you sync your eyes with the natural light outside, without any glasses, without any filters, you're actually telling your body, it's this time. You
Okay.
understand?
I
So
do, but I still always hear people talk about, you know, you get your body in rhythm with the 24-hour clock. So you're doing things at a similar time every day.
no, you don't need to. No,
Okay.
there are specific parts of the day where your digestion, for example, is the strongest, or when you're muscle-wise the most fittest. By the way, your digestion is strongest in the morning. You're the most active, physically active in the afternoon. And for example, at night, everything slows down. But that doesn't mean that you suddenly cannot work out at night. I mean, how limited can you get when you have to apply to a certain rhythm, like this hour I have to do this hour I have to do this hour I have to do this, because otherwise I'll get sick. It's not like that. Light is the only signal really that's the most powerful, and specifically the sunrise. And from there you'll know how the more healthy you become and the more you're able to communicate with the body, the more you'll just know like, okay, I just need to get outside. Okay, it becomes simple.
Okay. So with all of the health rings like the Fitbit and the watches and the rings and all of that stuff, a lot of people talk about that as being able to help us understand our body's relation to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see I see you shaking that head and smiling as if to say, "Hmm." So you're saying that though, I mean, they help, right? A little?
um well, yeah. I just don't like to ask, like we said in the start of the conversation, I don't like to ask a robot to tell me what to do. At the end of the day, it's a machine. And if I can communicate with my body and know in a split second okay, I need this kind of food. Okay, I need to do this. If I'm tired, I can just communicate. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Okay, this is going on. Let me do the XYZ. Or if I just acknowledge it's going on, it's already gone. I don't need something telling me that I need to go outside. Like I don't need something outside of me telling me how I am. I know how I am. So yeah, no, I don't like these devices. Plus, if you're constantly 24/7 with like a Wi-Fi router on your finger, like the Aura Ring, like you're having constantly Bluetooth on your skin, like that's electromagnetic radiation that's constantly interfering with all of your body's processes.
Hmm.
24/7. People wear that at night too.
Right.
So
That's the only way I know if I sleep good is if my ring tells me I'm sleeping good.
yeah, it doesn't make sense, right? So yeah.
Okay. So let's kind of take all this
Okay.
now and let me, because I think this all now moves into um, your Superwoman Health brand, right? That you're
Yeah,
kind of changing the way not only that you think about health, but the people that you're helping, right?
for sure.
Okay. So tell us about Superwoman Health.
So Superwoman Health for me is this state in which you're just constantly working on like a stronger body. You're what I said in at the start of the conversation, like I'm actually building something super strong, like super resilient. I can take anything. I can do anything. I can make anything I want. I am fully here. I'm fully showing up, and my life is mine, and my body is mine, and I can do with it whatever I want because it's my body. And I know what it needs, and I know how to make it even better. That's for me, Superwoman Health. It's not about avoiding an illness. It's not about um, having to have the perfect stats on your Oura Ring. It's not about having the perfect routine. It's about constantly looking for the next thing with pure enthusiasm. That's how I see it, and it it serves me well.
Okay. How much in alignment with, you know, things that we understand as functional medicine and functional systems,
Hmm.
based on things like gut health, detox hormones, and stuff like that. How much of that is involved?
Um, you mean in my teachings?
Yes, yes.
Um, I'd say that the way that I look at the body is not in isolated parts, first of all. So when, for example, when you're syncing your eyes with the sunrise, there's millions of processes happening from that in the entire body. Your body is like one machine that has so many different sub machines, and they all work together for one purpose and one purpose only is to help me. And so I focus on improving the communication between these submachines and creating a better coherence in these cells and in these tissues. And that is something that is over the whole body. Now, in my teachings, I do split it up in steps because if you just say like, oh, just heal your whole body, people are like, "Oh, what? Like, where do I start? That's so overwhelming." And so I focus on different steps on what to learn. But these things have an impact on the whole system.
Okay.
For example, changing your water, like knowing what kind of water you need, what kind of devices you can use to clean your water, because tap water is not ideal to drink for the people that don't know. So you just need to learn where can you get actually clean water. How do you make your own water? How does water act in the body? And then the next thing would be, for example, gut cleansing, like doing a proper cleanse, getting some stuck fecal matter out of your body. Those are some things that that require specific knowledge and specific steps, and usually they go through a specific order, and with that they can actually improve. But it's the whole system that improves. It's not like everyone loves to talk about gut health, and the gut is not really an isolated part of the body. For example, the sunlight has the biggest effect on the microbiome, and everyone's talking about probiotics.
Yeah. That's really popular right now, yes.
Yes, and taking probiotics is not always good. Like, you can actually make things worse with probiotics. So you really need to learn how to create that coherence.
Okay, what are some examples? Because I don't think I've actually heard anybody say that. So what type of example could a probiotic do wrong for you?
Yeah, I understand. So in any probiotic, you always have a couple bacteria, like a couple species. Okay. Now, in your actual gut, your gut is, first of all, like, the bacteria in your gut is very, very, very unique for you specifically. Every single person has a completely different microbiome, and it's very dependent on what you eat, on your emotional and mental state. Your gut is so interlinked with your gut, with your emotional state. So, and not in terms of that your it goes vice versa. But if you don't handle your mental and emotional state, you cannot properly heal your gut. So that's something very, very big. And the thing is, these pills have such a limited amount of species. And so when you're taking them, you're actually creating an imbalance in that microbiome. So you have a certain set of of bacteria of each species, and from a certain species you need to have a lot, and from the other species it's better to have less. And there's this whole system that's keeping your gut alive. And when you're constantly adding fuel to a fire, or you may be adding bacteria that are already too much there, or you're not supplementing someone that's missing, and so it's missing even more, you don't know what you're doing. You're just taking a pill because you saw it on Instagram, right? That's not something a lot of people don't want to hear, but that is the truth. So you really need to find a way to rebalance that microbiome and that gut through something that's actually harmonic and works for you in the specific environment that you are in right now.
So you mentioned, what we see. There are a lot of doctors that, are on YouTube and the social media, and they're pushing, certain green pills and stuff like that, or,
Yeah.
Telling us that, we just need to eat more, fermented foods like, yogurt, for example. So how does somebody figure out, though, which probiotics work and which ones don't?
You this person really needs help on, like, a proper coaching, like a proper someone who knows, and who actually knows what they are dealing with right now, because their problem might not even be the microbiome. The microbiome might be a manifestation of something else, so it's hard for me to answer that because it's very different for everyone.
Okay.
And they need someone that actually knows what they're doing and helps them, first of all, understand for themselves, so they can actually create something like a routine that works for them with the knowledge that they got, that they don't need to subscribe to a specific protocol or else. And then that they actually learn that what they learn is to actually create harmony, create coherence. And from that, the microbiome will stabilize from itself, like it's inevitable. It's bacteria. They sense what's going on.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. I want to go back to water because
Yeah.
that kind of caught my attention as well.
Hmm.
Here in the States, uh, we we know not to drink tap water. However, there have been some studies that have found that a lot of the bottled water that we're getting, because Americans probably are consuming the most bottled water of anybody,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
then also the filters that we're putting in our houses and stuff, sometimes they're just as bad, if not worse, than tap water. So you talked about, you know, cleaning your own water. Um,
Yeah.
how in the world do we do that?
So there's three main ways that you can clean your water. And for everyone interested, this is extremely valuable information. I paid a lot of money to learn this, so pay attention. But first of all, you can distill your water. Distilling means that you have a certain device that cooks the water, gets the steam of that water, and then puts the steam through a filter, and through that you have like pure H2O. So, but you have to know that water is completely demineralized, no minerals, and dead. Okay. So there's no life in that water. It's been cooked, it's been pressured, it's been all sorts of things. It's just pure H2O, but it's very pure. Okay. There's no toxins in there. There's nothing. So that's a way to clean your water. Okay. And then the next thing would be reverse osmosis, which is also very effective. So that basically goes that the water is pressed, like forced through a certain membrane, and through that, the most of the toxins are filtered out, and what you're left with is also forced kind of dead water. I'll explain in a minute what that water actually is. Um, but it's very clean as well, so it's a good option. And then there's something called the Spring Aqua, and that is actually a device that is actually, I believe it's installed in houses only. So if you own a house or something like that, then that is something you can do, and it's the best option. It's basically a spring made, so it's spring water, but from your own home. They literally recreated the layers of a real spring, like the clay and the like all of the things that water would normally be filtered through. And they created it in such a way that you can implant it in your house.
Okay.
So that is the best way to get remineralized, structured, like alive water from your tap. So I do recommend that. And when that is about that water and about distilling and reverse osmosis, you have to remineralize that water with a good quality salt, and you have to structure the water, meaning you bring back the this is hard for me to explain without a drawing, but do you know aloe vera gel?
Yes.
Yes, it's kind of sticky, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Like it's like a
because
petroleum feel to it.
it's like yeah, exactly, it's like a gel. And the reason for that gel is because there's certain hydrogen bonds between the water molecules, which make it like more viscous. Viscous. I don't know the
Has
word,
more
but like
viscosity, right? Has more viscosity.
more viscosity. Yes. Sorry. And then that's what you're doing with structuring your water. Why? When the water is in your body, you're like for 90% water, like you're for a big part water, but the water in your cells is actually not the liquid that you know. It's like a fourth phase, and it's this gel like structure. So the better that you can mimic that gel like structure, um that structure, that the viscosity, the more able your body will be able to take up that water, and the better hydrated you will be. You'll see when you look at a river, the water in that river is kind of like thicker in a way. Have you ever noticed that?
I have no idea what that means.
So look at the video of a flowing river, and you'll see that the water is more um like thicker, like with more viscosity, like it's more gel-like. The difference is a little bit for the eye, but you can notice,
Okay.
and it makes a huge difference for gut health, for brain health, for hydration, for everything.
Interesting. I've heard of heavy water, but I don't think that's the same thing. Um, and of course, we do have products that are marketed as spring water. I just don't know if I believe the marketing that goes with that.
Yeah,
And I
unfortunately, yeah.
know that we can buy distilled water here, but
Mhm.
the warning has always been that it should not be used long term unless you have um, a high mineral rich diet. Which, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, okay, that sounds like too much work, too much research, that sort of stuff.
Just put salt. You're be good. Yeah, put salt. Structure it. And when you buy water, make sure it doesn't come in a plastic bottle. Because you will be consuming a lot of microplastics. But yeah, there's all sorts of things to look for. The easiest thing that I find is to just have a device in your home,
Okay.
and from there make your water. Plus, a very interesting thing, by the way, is that water holds on to information. So apparently, whatever information, like whatever words you give it, it will hold on to that. You can actually see it under a microscope. It forms a different kind of crystal when you speak a nice word or when you speak an ugly word. It's very interesting. There's this book called The Secret of Water, I believe. I'm not sure about the name, but the writer was is called Emoto, Masuro Emoto, and he has done a lot of research about this, and it's fascinating. It's really, really cool to see.
Yeah, that sounds quite interesting.
It sounds hoo-hoo, but it's really cool.
I wasn't going to say that.
Scientifically proven.
Um, okay. So, for those of you listening, we talked about the Superwoman philosophy that Carlijn has. So, the website for that is just simply superwoman.cc.
Yes, true.
So you can go there and look for that and get her blueprint that she has. I did want to ask her a question because when I poked around in your site, of course, the very first tab is about teeth. Is that something that's really big right now, healing your teeth?
I didn't put it there specifically there for a reason. I do
Okay.
need to update my website. But teeth is something I struggled with myself um, for quite a while, a couple months, because I did something really stupid on a plane. I don't know if you want to get into it, but
Well, if you're going to say you did something stupid on a plane, I want to I want to hear.
Okay. So at that time, I was already like all into holistic health, not wanting fluoride in my toothpaste, and I had a lot of rules for my like a lot of um I don't want to call it rules, like just things that I decided I'm not doing because I just don't want them. And so one of these things I don't use fluoride for. I haven't used it for a long time.
Okay.
Anyway, I went on a plane to Ecuador, so it was quite a long plane from Europe, and I took with me this peppermint essential oil. The thought behind it was, okay, I don't need to use any like weird toothpaste because I normally brush my teeth with coconut oil. It's kind of like not really nice to do that in a plane. So let me just get peppermint essential oil so I can just put a couple drops and I'm good. I'm fresh. Uh, so I did that in the plane, and then I landed in Ecuador, and the next morning I looked into the mirror and my teeth were literally see-through. I had very, very, very white teeth, like I had very good quality teeth. And after that plane ride, after that essential oil, because it's so harsh on the tissues, my teeth were literally brown, see-through, and I was like, "Holy
Did
shit!"
it like eat away at the enamel, or I mean, how does that happen?
I think so. I never really looked into what specifically, like, biologically happened, but something happened for sure. And yes, and I suddenly had this self-consciousness of, oh my God, I shouldn't be smiling and all of these things. And it was really shitty to look into the mirror suddenly. And I had to find a way to, like, get my teeth back.
Mm.
So I got them back right now. And it was a very fun story because now I can help people heal their teeth. So I made a course about it and people can buy it, and it's really amazing, very helpful. So yeah, that's the story behind that. It's kind of
Interesting.
funny.
Now, I assume that because you were in Ecuador, you couldn't just run to a dentist and say, "Hey, what's happened?" Did you do that
No,
when did you do that when you got back home? Did you go in and say,
no,
"Oh, no"?
no. I had, like, I don't want to sound like arrogant, but I had so much knowledge already about teeth and about diet and all these things, so I could fix it myself. Um, but it just took a while for me to I read some books and I learned some things, and from there I just fix it myself.
All right. I may have to have you back for more. I love hearing these stories. So, all right. Well, Carlijn, thank you
uh,
very much. I want to go ahead and start to end off here, not go too
yeah.
long, but I'm sure there's other stories that you could share. But again, folks, superwoman.cc, Carlijn Krigjer, you definitely want to check out her site and learn how to live healthy and learn her blueprint for true circadian health. Uh, Carlijn, anything else you want to leave us with before I end off the show?
Just a huge thank you for having me twice. And yeah, much love to your audience.
Well, thank you. I think you're gonna find some people checking you out, and I wish you the best there. And glad your teeth are fine. Glad you got your period back. Glad life is back to normal. And
Yes.
appreciate talking to you. Thank you much.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for part 2 of my conversation with Carlijn. Obviously, I think you should appreciate, along with me, how honest she's been about the gap that she had with thinking she was actually healthy and then fixing stuff. If her story resonated with you, check out the show notes for links to her Superwoman Health work and ways to connect with her. And if you're that person that is grinding hard, running on fumes, telling yourself you'll fix it later, consider this as your gentle nudge to start making that one small change this week. So that's going to do it, folks. And as always, live healthy and be happy.